Greetings to everyone watching today. My name is Lucia Smith, and I'm working with the WAM Middle East Committee to bring you this special interview and talk with Dr. Mona El-Farra, who is in Gaza. She's in the Gaza Strip right now where she lives and works as a physician. Due to some technical difficulties, we're having trouble with going live on YouTube, but we are available on the website, the Facebook page of Women Against Military Madness. So do try to tune in, and we will rebroadcast this talk later on. So we're welcoming you, and especially welcoming Dr. Mona today. In November of 2017 was the last time we spoke with Dr. Mona on Skype. And at that time in Gaza, she considered the significance of the siege under which the citizens, the nearly 2 million Palestinian people in Gaza live under siege and are in what is called an open-air prison that is manipulated by the government of the state of Israel, and somewhat too, I think there are restrictions from Egypt, but Israel seems to be in control of water, electricity, and so on. But those, in November of 2017, Dr. Mona said she felt caution but hope. And so we wanted to check back with Dr. Mona and ask her, because since that time, the United States has halted funds to the United Nations Fund, which aids Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza. And we are asking anyone who hears this broadcast to think and take action in communicating with your U.S. senators in support of a letter which has been sent to the Secretary of State that would encourage the continuing aid to Palestinians. So just with that introduction, I would ask Dr. Mona to tell us what is happening now in Gaza, especially with in terms of the current crisis with COVID-19 and in the ongoing tragedy of the siege of Gaza. Thank you, Dr. Mona.
Thank you, Lucia. Thank you, everybody, and thank you for giving me this chance to talk to you and the wider audience too. With regard to the question, you said I am a physician, but beside physician, I am an activist too. And both physicians and activists should be always cautious but hopeful. So I will never give up being cautious and hopeful, and look at hundreds of health workers all around the world who are the first line of my colleagues everywhere, who are the first line in dealing with this ambiguous virus. So they must be the same at this time, cautious but and hopeful. But in the end, we are doing our duty as health workers, and my duty as an activist in Palestine, in Gaza Strip, where I live, where we are all the time have great challenges living in such place under siege and occupation and humanitarian crisis. So when we are faced with the COVID-19 at the moment, it came on top of already devastated community, devastated health situation, economical situation. So that makes the problem doubled. It is not only the virus that we are going to face is the environment around us, environment of health, of if we have medications or not, if we have equipment or not. So it is all big challenges for us, and we'll do what we can. We'll continue, and I am hoping that it will not be that bad in Gaza, despite of the different analysis. If one case was, we have 12 cases now of coronavirus, but if things has flared up, there will be big disaster, health disaster, I mean, because in Gaza with its 180 or 70 square miles, I'll say it in kilometers, actually, the highly populated area in the world with the population per 560 square kilometers for 1,000, more than 1,000 population. It is highly populated. It is lacking everything. So if I, for example, if I want to talk about numbers, give numbers, which I don't like to give numbers usually because the situation has gone beyond numbers. If we talk about poverty, at such situation, 35% of Gaza people are in object poverty. When I say object poverty, those people have no income whatever, no income whatever. We have 85 or 75% of the population, they are living day by day. That means what they have today, it is from hand to mouth. And those people, if you want to have to impose quarantine or curfew on those people, that means you need to face the problem of them having their supplies. So the situation is not sound at all at the moment. Hospitals suffering of big problems, like we have only 60 ICU beds special for the respirators, with respirators, and those beds are understaffed and under-equipped. Israel is still keeping the borders closed, and worse than that, they are bargaining with the government in Gaza that will open the borders if you let the bodies of the 4 soldiers that has been killed in 2014, if you handle us the bodies of these soldiers. So again, and they consider it humanitarian Israeli issue. So again, I could see the point that I raised several times, that the problem is that they are dealing with us as inferior for them. So the life of 2 million people, at least 2 million, it is more than 2 million now, is worse for them, is as precious as the bodies of the soldiers. And in my opinion, this is, I understand, but I see it, I know, I don't understand. I find it very racist, but what can I expect from an occupation? We have been under this occupation for tens of years. So we don't have enough medications, we don't have enough medical supplies, we don't have protective gears for our staff in the different hospitals. And that's why we, I am the director of Mecca in Gaza, and we are trying our best to get medications and supplies for many hospitals. We managed to do some for the hospitals, and other shipment or trucks are coming into Gaza if the borders were opened. Beside that, those poor people I mentioned in the beginning, they need food parcels, they need hygienic kits. We already started distributing the food parcels and the hygienic kits for the population. So our presence on the ground there to respond to the community need and to people who are, as I mentioned earlier, are in very, very dire and hardship situation. This is not the end of the story. For example, if I want to tell you about Gaza, now the authority has asked people to go into their homes, to stay at their homes. The majority of people have in very, very small homes, overcrowded, tin roofs, very dire housing conditions. So people are not responding. People are mainly in the streets. Some are responding, but the minority are responding, and that will make the problem even worse for us as health workers and humanitarian workers. If the problem started, it doesn't have its peak in Gaza now. As I mentioned earlier, we have 12 cases only in Gaza. In the West Bank, the number is more, but in Gaza, 12 cases, and we have around 2,000 people in quarantine at the moment. Because all the cases we had, those came through the borders, when passengers who came through the borders. So the situation is not, it is not promising in Gaza, but despite of that, we should continue work. Sometimes when I think of all the budgets of the world that's going to the arms, buying the arms and arms trades, etc., on behalf of the health services and on behalf of the welfare of the human beings, I feel mad myself. It is not only the military madness. I feel mad when this is going on, and of course it has effect on my country. Can you still hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I feel really, really mad, and this idea doesn't leave me all the time, that there's unjust in this world, and the big governments are trying to watch the interest of the big corporation companies on behalf of the ordinary people, and this we should all together in this mutual crisis, global crisis, the pandemic of the COVID virus. It should encourage us to have something different after this crisis is over, to put more pressure on for better policies for the world as such and for each government. I told you a little bit about the poverty, but it is not only the poverty. The water is unsuitable for drinking in Gaza, with increasing the disease. Anemia amongst children is going high now, higher than the 2017 interview. It is acute anemia amongst children. And we started program in Mecca. We called it Meals on Wheels for children because of this anemia, and because of we have heard from, we have the number of the children are suffering of anemia, and we have heard from many families that the children have one meal every day. The children have one meal every day, and we are not sure if it is a healthy meal because of the general poverty prevalence. So we decided to do this project. We started, and we were very happy, and we managed to cover 800 children, and the project is going to be programmed. But because of the coronavirus, the schools has closed, and we had to suspend the project and take care of feeding of the families through the food parcels, and giving them health education with the hygiene parcels we are distributing, with instructions, of course. And I'm talking about us, about the work I am doing, but I cannot do it alone. I am surrounded with wonderful partner organizations and volunteers too. And this is something I like. I see it very positive in our society that in such a crisis you find increasing number of people who are, despite of their misery, and they are not in good conditions, but they are still happy and pleased to contribute according to their social responsibility in the community. The psychological well-being of the population now, and this is I hear it from my neighbors in the building. They have been now in lockdown in their homes for since 4 weeks. and they are anxious, they are restless, worried, watching what will happen. They are unable to control their children because, as I said, Gaza is not healthy or suitable housing, so unable to control the children, and their children need to continue with their education. There were ideas of social media education, internet education, but this is not working as well because not everybody has a computer, can't afford to have a computer. So many wives has in the building I live in explained their fear about their children, they fear about themselves, the wives, and how anxious they are because of this situation. Those who are committed to the lockdown, who are few, not many. And on the other hand, the shops has been closed, the cafes and everything, so people just go in the streets hopeless, helpless and aimless in the streets, the children. And this is again big problem. It is different when we are living, like myself, we are living in a catastrophe area, a catastrophe zone, a war zone. So that makes the coronavirus attack against us, it will be double, because at some places, for example, I would say about Syria, for example, not us at the moment, the refugees they have no homes to be locked in. They are already homeless, millions of the Syrian refugees. But in Gaza, there is a problem as well because the homes are unsuitable for lockdown. We try our best. We try to raise the awareness of people to the disease, to the virus, to how to protect themselves and their families. But the general situation is difficult, really difficult for everybody. Many emergency committees has been formed in Gaza, in different parts of Gaza, from Beit Hanun to Rafah. Again, from youth and organizations, they formulated small committees to see the needs of the community, and I get in touch with those committees to see what we can help, because they have the organization of the process itself, but they don't have the means. So we try our best in Mecca and Mecca team to provide them with the means like the food parcels and the hygienic kits, beside our partner organizations. Children are not in good situation at the moment in Gaza. I said because of disease, poverty, because it came on top of already existing humanitarian crisis that became very, very worse since 2017. Gaza was expected to be an unlivable area at the year of 2020, but this happened in the year 218. So it happened 2 years earlier, and with the regulations of the main UNRWA donors, for example, which is the USA, and she has mentioned it in the beginning, they stopped the fund for the UNRWA, United Nations Palestinian Refugees Agency. They stopped the funds, and with Trump announcing that agreed on the Jewish state for the Israelis and what happened in the Golan, all these things contribute to a really situation that with the humanitarian crisis that made us all feel in despair. I'm not allowed to have this, but I mean, I'm talking about general. But if you talk about reality, it puts more burden on you to help people to continue your vision, for vision that is based on Palestinian rights, based on peace, based on justice. It makes it really difficult because we are dealing with extraordinary situation at the moment. And I wish you all well and safety. And watching the news from here, makes me feel that the world has been unified for once, and for once, because this virus did not distinguish between the rich, the poor, the black, the brown, the yellow, all ethnicity. Yeah, so unified us, and I hope that after this crisis has ended in my country, in Palestine, or in the world, that the human being will have its lesson. Yeah, if you want to ask questions, or I continue. I continue talking. I told you maybe before about food insecurity in my country. We don't have food insecurity before the crisis. It is worse now. I told you about the hospitals. We have a small number of beds compared to the number of hospitals. For example, we have 1.2 bed for each 100,000 population in Gaza. Again, the beds are understaffed and under-equipped. The health workers go to their work unpaid or paid just something like pocket money or maybe transport, but they continue to go and work. The unemployment is very high. 4 in 5 of the population are unemployed. They don't have regular income and employed. This, of course, has its effect on us as a population, as especially the youth population, the children. We will continue, but the world must listen that this injustice that has been imposed on us for years and years since Israel was founded should stop. At least now I call for end the siege. The borders should be opened. This is my message today. End the siege, then the borders must be opened to have humanitarian supply to more than 2 million of people. Half of them are kids under the age of 18 who are living in Gaza Strip in a very miserable situation, normally miserable situation, and on top of it, this pandemic that is still not happening seriously in Gaza, but one case is not, is enough to make the spread worse, and then the problem will be more even complicated because of many reasons. Yeah.
Emma, I'm sorry. Emma?
Yeah.
This is Lucia, and I do have a couple questions that we thought about ahead of time, but I would also say to anyone who is watching on Facebook that you can submit your questions through Facebook also, and Emma will be able to bring those up to Dr. Mona.
Yeah,
Thank you, Dr. Mona, for that overview. Sarah.
Do you have? I have the.
Can I add something?
Yeah, of course.
Please.
Of course.
Yeah. During this crisis of this pandemic and all the preparing to make life possible for people during this crisis, for the last 4 days, the drones in the skies of Gaza did not stop. On top of our hoods, the drones that are made in, part of it is made in the UK, and we have a group of beautiful activists who are campaigning all the time around the factories in Ilpot and another city in the middle of England. Those drones all the time are on the sky, and the children don't understand the pandemic or not. The drones bring back the memory of the three major assaults we have been subjected to. The last one was the year 2014, and that makes it even worse for the children to recall the trauma of the 2014 attack. They make it really difficult, and the army as well has been attacking the fishermen, not allowing them to go fishing in Gaza. I live by the sea, so I could hear the the sound of the war, what you call it, the naval boats against the fishermen. And on the other side, this is in the west of Gaza, on the other side, which is the east, they are again attacking, not attacking and not allowing the villagers to reach their land by the border. I don't know how they are thinking this way, but I feel it. I don't know, but I feel it. I feel it in the eyes of the children in the building I live. When, for example, I have my neighbor. We have lockdown, but when we visit each other in the building, we sit far distance. So she came with her child, who's very smart, six years old. His name is Samir. He was clinging to his mother and afraid because of the hearing of the drone itself. That's why, my friends, you are doing a great job. Your group of women against military madness, doing great job for the future of millions of children, not only in America, in my area, in all the world, that this should stop for the benefit for the welfare of the human beings. When the child clings to his mother, my heart aches. It reminded me of the 3 attacks against Gaza. It reminded me of how thousands and thousands of children in Gaza with no shelters against the attacks, and how this affected their psychological well-being. And we are still meeting some cases, many cases that they are under treatment because of this trauma. So the situation is, as I mentioned, I have good spirit, but the situation is really difficult. Good spirit based on work, because I am working, we are all working, we are doing our duty. My colleagues in the hospitals are exposed to, it is a matter of life and death for them, because many of our colleagues around the world has been had the virus and sadly passed away. This is in conclusion. I am happy for your questions now.
We have several. The first is, China and Cuba have been helping other countries. Have they been able to get to Gaza with medical supplies and doctors?
China
and Cuba, who have been helping get medical supplies to other countries and testing and
yeah.
Have they been able to get into Gaza?
No, not yet. But their position regarding the Italian and Cuba is, big thank you, and to raise your hearts, all of us as human beings, that they came. And this is how humanity should be, and this is the idea of people who believe in humanity, not in big corporation companies. No, they haven't arrived Gaza. The border is still not opened freely into Gaza, so we are having little supplies. So when I sent my appeal, Mecca appeal, we encourage people to donate. And there are pharmaceutical companies. You can buy the medication quickly for the hospitals inside Gaza until the big loads, big trucks enter, which didn't enter. So we already started distributing medication.
This is Lucia. I want to clarify something. You referred to, I think, Mecca, and I want to clarify for our audience that is the Middle East Children's Alliance. And that is the group that you are very active with. There are also Middle East Children's Alliance offices in the United States. And we would encourage everyone to Google Middle East Children's Alliance and do whatever we can, each of us, to support their work with contributions, because you do receive that support in Gaza, correct? Yes.
Yeah, and if you can advise them to see my appeal, it's very short, and there is the link and the donation line and everything, and we still can buy medications from here. This is the quickest way and the most safest way to help Gaza people at the moment.
Right. Good. Thank you. Sarah, do you have another question?
Yeah, somebody wondered if there's any coordination or cooperation between Israel, between 48 and and the Gaza Medical Authority?
No, at the moment, no. But at sometimes there was Physicians for Human Rights help, but at the moment Gaza is completely sealed, and they wouldn't lift the siege. I said they are bargaining by lifting the siege and having the corpse of the dead bodies of the soldiers, and beside that. There are like 5,000 workers in Gaza, in Israel, Palestine 1948, and Israel is treating them so badly, and they are going to send them to Gaza, and this will make them the problem more complicated. But the way those people are treated are again very racist and very not humanitarian. Those not soldiers, workers. I said workers who are working in 1948. This is the
Dr.
situation.
Mona.
What was the other part of the question?
Was there any cooperation between the doctors in Palestine 48 and Gaza?
No, not yet. No, nothing.
Yeah. You mentioned the sealed borders. Well, for a year, Gazans went to the illegal boundary between Gaza and Israel.
Well, say Israel, yeah. For clarity.
Yeah, the Great March of Return. And were you involved in that, or can you talk about that a little bit? And just to tell you that on March 24th, an organization here in town, the Anti-War Committee, actually went to a bridge that's normally pretty busy, but because the lockdown had started, and they were all 10 feet apart, held up banners for the Great March of for the right of return for Palestinians and Gazans. Can you talk about that year of activism, that year of heroic activism?
The March of Return was like a big cry. To the whole world that we are Palestinian and we are here, and we are watching our homeland that we have been expelled. So it was very good, peaceful action. It was a group of the community, youth, etc. But it has been the Israeli army reaction was very savage, and I'm sure you have been watching that. But it was peaceful, mainly peaceful people going every Friday for that cause, and we hope that it is very good, peaceful activists. But now it stopped for the last month because since the emergency situation has been announced, it stopped. And Israel, again, it made a lot of burden on the health system because many people were injured, youth. Severe injuries, amputation of their limbs, etc., and the people who were killed or injured, mild injuries. Some of them, if they were given the right treatment, because the soldiers sometimes they wouldn't allow the health emergency workers to reach the injured. Sorry, they keep shooting at them. If they were given that chance to reach the injured in the right time, they could have made it, either not killed or their arms or legs were saved. So again, if I want to continue talking about the practices of the Israeli occupations through the years, not only in this pandemic, against us, it is not, I wouldn't call it human rights abuse. I will call it war crimes. It is, and it is not the time for this, but this is what we are living through the years in my country under the occupation.
I have a question about the situation in Gaza, and you were very clear about the pollution of the water and the children suffering with anemia, so many children with anemia. I remember when we talked previously that you said electrical power in Gaza sometimes operated only 2 to 4 hours each day. And I wonder if that is still the situation, and how are hospital generators are they capable of covering that loss of power?
Yeah,
It's terrible.
it is terrible. It is still the same, but not 2 hours, 4 hours each day. And the hospitals, they are coping from the beginning through generators, and generators are not the right solution. I maybe have mentioned it several times, that between the time of operating of the generator, from when the main power supply stop and you want to move it to the generator, there's a gap of like 1 minute, and this 1 minute is enough to affect the health of the babies in the special care baby units, patients in the coronary care units, the laboratory. These are very highly sensitive equipment in the lab investigations, I mean. So the health in Gaza has been affected because of this electricity. Again, it affected the health because we had many big like cities, for example, one city or one MRI or lab or IC unit has been affected by this power cut, despite that there are generators. So the equipment is not functioning. So this is, again, you add another burden on top of the heads of people who are managing the health. That's why the health situation in Gaza was disastrous before this crisis. That's what makes it a duplication of the crisis for us in Gaza. Besides that, because of the siege and limited movement outside Gaza, very limited, the great restriction of movement. Besides that, affect the training of the doctors and the specialists. So we have very good doctors, but they need to have a chance to exchange experience and to update their knowledge and their studies with the world. So when you are living in such a closed, very closed area, and you lack proper movement outside, of course this affects the health in general. Besides that, the health is not in itself. The health is part of the social and economic situation. So when people are poor, the children are anemic. When people have cancer, for example, patients have cancer, they apply like 4 or 5 times to get permit to leave Gaza, because in Gaza we don't have treatment for cancer. We have chemotherapy, but again, it is unreliable. It is the patient start the protocol of the chemotherapy but cannot continue it. The patient apply to travel outside Gaza. Usually they go either to Egypt with great difficulty or to Israel. They have to apply for a permit. Despite that, the cases are high priority. They apply 4, 5, 6 times until they get the permit, and sometimes it is late to start the protocol. So it is complicated, and I have been I come across cases of children, young children, for example, child of 3 years old who needs further treatment in West Bank or Israeli hospitals. Now Israeli hospitals, even before the virus, the corona, they don't receive any Palestinian patient. Now patients go either to Jerusalem or continue to the Jordan. So my point is, child of 3 years old, they will give him the permit to leave, but unaccompanied. His mother is not allowed to be with him.
Oh no.
Or father. And it happened several times. It was written in many places. You can search it in human rights organization reports, but I come across it personally. Again, it was a friend. The husband was not allowed. The mother was not allowed. And the child has to go with a neighbor or a far friend. People, I mean, in such situation, the child needs the mother, and there are no reasons for doing that except intimidating and dehumanization. They look for us as subhumans. They try to dehumanize us. That's why I don't like numbers, because we are not numbers, we are stories. We are flesh and blood. They look at us numbers. How many people can we get? How many people can we manage to leave Gaza? This is occupation, this is racism, this is colonization as well. Apartheid.
Yes.
Back to the coronavirus. How many people are actually in the hospital at this point, and are you able to be isolated, or what happens if there's an influx of people that need respirators or just oxygen, or how's that all going to look? What's that all going to look like, or does it look like?
Yeah, at the moment we don't have any cases in the hospitals. The cases that has been diagnosed carrying the virus, they have in the quarantine, the governmental quarantine. They are 12, and besides 2,000 are staying in the quarantine, but not open cases has been into the hospital yet. But if this happened, there will be great burden in all of us because of the reasons I have mentioned before, the understaffed, under-equipped, 60 respirators for 2.2 million population in Gaza. So we are going to face big dilemma, big problem. It will be disastrous. And I cannot keep my fingers crossed because this virus has proved to be very ambiguous, unclear. It keeps changing. We keep having news. It will end by the summer. It is not that true. It's not true at all, according to the World Health Organization. Because if the temperature will kill it, it did not kill it in Iran or in Saudi Arabia or in Africa. Because we are dealing with unknown enemy, mysterious, even with great respect for all the scientists around the world who are trying to understand the nature of this virus, still it is unclear. But the problem in Gaza Strip is very clear. The virus came on top of already devastated, collapsed humanitarian situation, and again it is because of the siege and the occupation. Any more questions?
Let me look here. Well, there certainly are a lot of people who are saying thank you so much for doing this call. Okay, here's one, and for the work you do. Anyway, when you're not on this.
What is it? I can't hear.
Thank yous and appreciations for what you do, and for doing the call, but for what you do for the world. Here's another question. Is Gaza getting any supplies from the Egyptian border?
Just a few, because the Israelis are not allowing. Just a few. That's why I call upon you all. If you want to get Gaza some medication, go to Mecca website, and here we can buy from pharmaceutical companies and give it to hospital and medical facilities. This is the easiest and safest way, and we are already doing it. We are doing giving hospitals with medical medications. We are distributing food parcels and hygienic kits for community. So please help us because our problem is complicated and accumulated.
So all we need is contribute to the alliance, right? You need to
Middle East Children's Alliance. It is www.meccaforpeace.org.
And I think I must put it up here.
Yep. I put the link in there, and then I also found the campaign that you talked about where you made the plea specifically for Gaza, and that link is pinned in our comments for anybody who's interested in donating to that. It's the top link on the live stream. You can go straight there.
$5 makes a difference in Gaza.
Yes.
And it is only not $5 in money. It means humanity. It means you are helping us while you are in crisis. And humanity, it's not divided. And it means that despite of your pain at the moment, because I know that the United States are number one now, number 1 or 2 in the coronavirus. Despite of that, there is space for humanity and giving others who are suffering more. Thank you.
Emma? Do you have a question, Emma? Or?
No, I don't. I was just checking to see if we had any more.
I don't think we.
I'm going to put one comment up on the screen in case people missed this. It's the phone numbers for people to call specifically in Minnesota. Senator Amy Klobuchar's number and Senator Smith's. If anybody wants to call them to tell them your opinion on this issue, their phone numbers are right up there on the screen. So if you don't already have them, you can write them down, but you should have them saved in your phones already.
Emma, do you have the local number for Senator Tina Smith and for Senator Klobuchar?
Those are local numbers.
Is it the 612 for Klobuchar?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. 612-727-5220. Good.
Yeah, I'll put those back.
And right, and the request specifically is to press our Minnesota senators, and if people are listening from outside of Minnesota too, contact your own states, senators for your states, and press them to support the letter that was signed by 6 or 8 U.S. senators to Secretary of State Pompeo that they reissue aid to Gaza and the West Bank from the United States, which the Trump administration had elected to cut off. And that could be helpful. And then individually, the Middle East Children's Alliance is the kind.
It's just to open those borders.
Sarah, your voice was breaking up. I couldn't. Could you say that again?
To open the borders. Tell them to open the borders.
Stop in the siege. To end the siege.
Siege and open those.
Open the borders
immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is immediately.
Yeah.
End the siege. Open the borders.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the situation even will be more complicated if Gaza had it. It will be more complicated for the area because we live on the same piece of the same land.
Well, we are really lucky. Nobody froze up. Nobody got disconnected. The connection has been wonderful. We've been able to hear you perfectly, Mona. It's just, we've been able to hear your voice and also your message, obviously, which is just so strong and inspiring and yet so painful. And I think most people are going to walk right to their checkbooks the minute we get off this call and do what needs to be done. And
there's, but I mean, maybe not checkbooks, maybe online. They don't know how to do online because there's online.
That's even better, faster. All right.
Yeah, there's online banking now and online, but there's one post office opened in Berkeley, I have been told by my colleagues. But anyway, thank you very much for interviewing me and bear up with me because when I talk, it is not because it's not my language, because emotionally, I recall the memories of all what's happening and it affecting me again and again. It makes me, but for me, it makes me exhausted but angry, and this anger helps me to continue.
Yeah.
And with people like you, I will continue.
Thank you.
We'll continue to. I'd say
together. We'll continue.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take care of yourself. And
thank you, Emma. Thank you, Sarah and Lucia. Yeah.
Thank you.
And again, I had one of my best times in Minneapolis. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Mona.
Thank you.
Remember,
Thank you.
And thank you, everyone.
Carry
for
on your good
watching.
work.
This is this nice woman. I'll just introduce you to Talia.
oh,
I'll introduce you to this nice woman who is living with me. Her name is, come on here, تعال هنا. Here. Her name is Suad. She is from the Al-Shati refugee camp, and is the great grandmother of 25 between children and youth, and she is responsible for them. They are part of the object poverty.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, disease and poverty and highly population. And through Mecca, I am able to continue supporting her and supporting her great family. She is the grandmother. She has only one child. He is 45 years old and he has disease, mental health illness, and the other 25, I know their cases. I am in direct contact with them through here and through my visits to them. So this is just an example of how she is one of many examples in Gaza. Women are strong. She is very strong, yes. And she is my friend, and together we'll defeat the virus.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh,
thank you. Fully safe.
Yeah. Bye. Okay. Should we tune out?
Yeah. Thank you everybody for watching. You can still. What was that, Sarah?
Do you know how many we had watching? Do you know how many we had watching?
We had 44 people at the most that I saw. So thank you to all of you that have been watching. And you can continue to watch this. It'll stay up on our Facebook page, so you can still share it even when we're not live. And then as soon as I push the finish button here, I'm going to go upload this onto YouTube so that it can be shareable for all the people who don't have Facebook, because we understand that a lot of you don't have Facebook, and that's good.
Thank you.
The YouTube thing will be what should they look for on YouTube?
I will put the link in this, and then I'll send the link to everybody so that we can get that out.
Okay.
So thank you again.
Goodbye. I'm going to hang up.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Stay safe, stay well,
You too.
Stay strong.
Yep.
Keep the good work up, all of us.
From the river.
One day we'll change the world. One day the world will be changed. Continue.
From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
I forgot to put on my necklace.
Palestine will be free.
That's right.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.